And now, News 4's Weather Extra with Chief Meteorologist David Paul.
Welcome into Weather Extra on this rainy Monday. The raindrops falling across the area. Good for all the landscape. The yards out there trying to recover from that frost last week, and the warm air is on the way, so that rain is certainly needed. Meteorologist Ryan Duggar along my side here as we break down what was kind of a wet day for much of the area, and it came in waves. And that was good because it didn't just dump at one time and then run off, it soaked into the ground.
Yeah, what we need is more of that soaking rain. Exactly. And that's something that when we saw each other today, it's not the most common thing for us to, wake up to the sound of thunder. Usually when we're hearing that, we're here tracking the storms for you, but that was a nice little surprise.
It really was. Rumbles of thunder, some flashes of lightning, and it's like, okay. No severe weather to worry about. A little bit of small hail mixed in here and there. Larger hail a possibility as we go through time. It's that time of year for the as we mentioned earlier, the convective energy to be a little more robust, and that can fuel some hail in time. Yeah,
we already saw that just a couple weeks ago, and those were some powerful storms and right over such a populated area. So yeah, it's best to be mindful of that as we get into the season.
Ready for sure. All right, rain totals today officially at the airport in Dothan, 0.51 inches, in Ozark, 0.55. Some of the higher amounts pretty impressive.
Yeah, over an inch for Geneva and Florala. Some of those storms that were able to make their way through were packing a little bit more of that rain, which is always good. I know for us, we were at that half inch. I wish we could get that a little bit more because we're always looking at Dothan to get our rain chances back, our rain gauge back,
That's right, yeah. We've got more rain chances ahead, so areas that missed out on the heaviest rainfall today, you've got another chance as we get towards the weekend. Saturday, 3 p.m., the activity off to the west of us as we go into Sunday. Again, at that point, likely some pop-up showers and storms, and those are the ones that might produce some hail on Sunday. That's your early first alert. As we go into Monday, more energy around, another disturbance coming in. So Monday afternoon, some showers and some storms, and maybe a little bit of rotation potential. Looking at that setup, we kind of broke that down earlier, something that we will be watching early next week.
Yeah, for the energy that we have now, it's just where those can really meet up, and it doesn't look too impressive, but things change, especially several days out, so we're going to keep our eye on it.
We are watching for sure. It is tornado season. Some of these tornado stats we have to share with you, pretty eye-opening. Those are coming up next.
And now, News 4's Weather Extra.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. A little breezy over the weekend. It's been kind of a windy month, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you think of March and typically you think a little bit more extra winds. And for me, that's not helping the pollen because that's exactly how it spreads. It's nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Spreading the pollen everywhere and everywhere, anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, so let's break down why it's been so windy this month with meteorologist Zach Webster.
We've already seen a couple of windy days over the last few weeks, and it looks very likely we'll continue to see some of those windy days as we head throughout the next couple of months and we get farther along into spring. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into why we'll see some more of those windy days as we head throughout the spring. It all starts with our upper air pattern, namely the jet stream. It starts to take on a lot more of a wavy kind of pattern as compared to what we normally see in the winter. That helps to drag in some cooler air from the north and some warmer air up from the south at the surface. The differences in those two air masses, the cooler air mass and the warmer air mass, helps to create a pressure difference out along the surface. So you wind up with an area of low pressure farther off toward the north, an area of high pressure farther off toward the south and the east, and then quite simply the difference in those two pressures, the pressures in those two areas helps to create winds, and then there's a couple of factors that helps to increase those winds. If these two areas of pressure, low pressure and high pressure, are closer together, that helps to create a little bit more in the way of those windy conditions, or if there's a pretty big pressure difference between those two areas. Let's say we have a much stronger area of low pressure and a much stronger area of high pressure. That creates a greater pressure difference over a very, very small area. That will help to increase those wind speeds as well.
That would fascinate me as a kid. How, why did wind blow?
Yeah, it was something interesting to kind of learn about. You kind of get more into the dynamics of it when you get into schooling.
Right.
And it is pretty impressive to see how these pressures interact, how they create multiple kinds of weather. It's fascinating, really.
It really is, yeah. Then you have winds with thunderstorms. That's a whole different ball game.
Whole different type of study,
right.
yeah.
Speaking of thunderstorms and tornadoes, check out some of the stats here. We've seen a big jump in the number of tornadoes across the country compared to when we looked at this last time, I think in the beginning of March or late
Somewhere
February.
around there.
Yeah. A big jump from that previous weekend. So we're at 288 now across the U.S. The normal between the beginning of the year and now is 190, so well above normal at this point. A big change, really in large part due to that outbreak in Mississippi. And as we go through time, we're looking at week 2 here, this severe outlook, which is essentially the first week of April. The bullseye kind of aligns with that convective available potential energy over parts of Texas, Louisiana. But notice as we go through time, really most of the South will have the parameters coming into play to produce some thunderstorms.
Yeah, and like I was actually talking to you earlier about, like, that's my favorite type of season when we can get convective thunderstorms. It really just spells summer. But yeah, where you get a little bit more of those hot spots, especially out to the west, they get really powerful thunderstorms out there. The thunderstorms just continue building, and that allows for very gusty winds, hail, and we still get pieces of that every now and then. So we're not totally discounted from events like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. The return of the warmth and the moisture just makes the atmosphere go crazy. So I thought this is interesting. If we look at 2023 storm stats across the country, it was a very normal year for the number of tornadoes across the U.S. A couple things to point out. Look at the long track tornado potential over parts of the South. Alabama into Tennessee, Mississippi. You see a lot of red dots. Those are just little weak short track tornadoes, but long track not too far north of us. So then we look at, all right, in 2023, we had 1,321 tornadoes across the country. We start breaking that down. If you look at the EF0s and the EF1s, add that up.
That's 88% of them.
88%.
Wow. And I guess that makes sense because, I mean, most of the tornadoes you see return are EF0s, EF1s
That's
a lot
right.
of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really good news that 88% are EF0, EF1, only 10% EF2, only 2% EF3, and in 2023, only 2 across the country were EF4, and there were no EF5 tornadoes. So I guess it is good. I mean, we see a lot of tornadoes in the U.S., but thankfully the majority are lower end.
Yeah, as long as we can see more of those lower ends. I know they're more common, but yeah, keep those stronger ones out of here.
Exactly. Well, that's it for tonight's episode of Weather Extra. Have a good night. Watch out for the fog. We'll see you tomorrow right here on News 4. Good night.